Hey guys, and welcome back. I know, long time no see, right? It's been a little while since I've been able to film and upload. Life has just been so chaotically busy. Tonight we're going to be doing another one of our Homegrown Horrors series. Now, I bet you're wondering who this one is right next to me. This is my sister Shantelle. Say hello.
Hello.
Chantelle's going to be helping me tell some of our horror stories from back home. So, very, very excited to get into this one. There's going to be a few follow-up videos that will include on-site filming, so location exploration. Hopefully it goes better than last time. Larundel was an absolute fail. I don't even have to tell you guys about that one. Actually, on that note, Shantelle and I actually went to Larundel quite a few years ago before it was really heavily developed. So we were able to get into one of the buildings that I think was the administrative building. However, we were too scared to go the full way in. So totally missed an opportunity there. That's now apartments. They're quite suave, by the way, though. They're quite nice. They're like...
I do like them.
They're fully... They really, really are. The bathrooms are a bit weird, though. I look at it and I think there's like a bit of exposed pipe that's just sort of been painted over and you can tell it's really old. And I wonder if that's part of the heritage, if they've got to actually keep it like that. I don't know. But for some weird reason, the construction site was still all lit up at night time. So it was like, I don't know. It wasn't very scary last time we went to Larundel, so... We're all about scary and creepy here, mystery, weird and the wonderful, so I'm not going to go, trying to sell you real estate. So we won't be going back to Larundel, of course, unless any of you guys can get us in. Before we get stuck into our homegrown horror stories, I want to do a quick shout out to everybody who has volunteered to come on a location exploration with me. But yeah, I will let you guys know as soon as I'm able to sort out some dates and calendar events to be able to get out and get filming. It's just been a crazy, crazy time. I'm going to head up north for a little bit. I wonder if I'll be able to get some time to do some filming while I'm in Queensland. That could be something I could look at. That would be really, really cool. Anyway, let's kick it off. Alrighty, so... a mix of homegrown horrors tonight. Let's get stuck into this because this actually includes stories with you as well, Shan. So, we used to live in a house in Alaval Estate in Croydon, which was meant to be like prestigious or whatever for all of us povo arseholes. Everyone used to think, oh yeah, it's so cool to live in Alaval. I'm so rich, whatever.
Even though it's next to the Bronx.
Exactly, and backs onto the race course where... God knows what goes on. Anyway, we lived in this house in Alaval in Saxby Court, and it was a really big house, and there was nothing creepy about it at all. It was quite a new house. It was a new estate. I mean, all land's old. Like, all land is here before houses were built on it, so of course there's going to be history. But there was nothing significant or nothing known about the land or the house or anything like that that... would have offered the events that occurred. So, one morning, I was about 21 or so. I just moved back home. I decided that I would definitely think it was a good idea to go and wake my sister up and get her ready for school because I was trying to be a good, responsible big sister because my mum had already gone to work. I was on a later shift and thought, oh yeah, good idea. Let's go wake Shan up and get her ass off to school. She didn't have far to go either. As it turns out, she was nowhere to be seen and I was like, oh my God, she's already gone. Well, good on her. That's so good. I'm so glad.
I'm so proud.
I was so proud. And then I was like, okay, so I'll just go into the bathroom, doing my hair, getting ready for work and everything like that. And I saw this shadow like shoot past. So to give you a description of sort of the layout of the house, do you remember exactly how everything was laid out? Like it was like...
You walk in, there was the little lounge room,
yeah.
Mum's room, I forget past there, the kitchen and rooms and an outdoor.
So, like, off to the side of the kitchen, there was, like, if you think of it as an L shape, so at the very end of the L shape, there was Chantelle's room, and then there was, like, a bathroom. So they're almost sort of, like, next to each other. And so I thought the shadow shooting across was Shantelle, like running back across, and I was like, oh my god, little shit's wagging school, always bloody wagging school. And
It probably was.
you probably
just
were,
wasn't at
but you just
home.
weren't at home. And I yelled out, Shantelle, you can come out now, I've caught you wagging, I won't tell mum, blah blah blah. And no one answered, and I was like, come on, stop mucking around, come on, just don't muck around, just come and tell me that you're here. And then no answer, and looked everywhere, and it turned out her school bag was actually gone, and she'd actually gone to school that day. So
No call from the principal.
I don't even know what that was. That was terrifying. So I don't know how to explain that one. Shan, what are your weird experiences that you had in that bloody house?
It was weird. There was one time we were leaving early in the morning. I wasn't leaving. Someone you knew were leaving early in the morning. And they thought they saw me. They thought they saw me in the window waving at them goodbye.
Oh my god, yes, I
remember
forgot
that?
about this.
This person was an atheist though. They didn't believe in anything.
No, they didn't. They were a non-believer. And the thought of even believing in the paranormal or anything was just absolutely ridiculous. It was absolutely absurd. It wasn't even a consideration. So for them to be like, I saw Shantelle waving in the window, and it's like, hold on,
At
Shantelle.
5:30 in the morning.
Yeah, she wasn't even awake.
That was
like,
not me.
or maybe not even home, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was crazy. I forgot about that one. That is so good. Actually, Mum had said also at Saxby Court that she'd seen somebody standing in the window and like waving goodbye as well, and she thought it was her partner at the time. But it turns out her partner actually wasn't even home from night shift yet, so
That's so scary.
it wasn't him.
And it wasn't me.
No, it was actually an older gentleman, which actually prompted Mum to go and see a psychic. Now, I'm open to anybody who believes in clairvoyancy, auras, anything like that. Really respectfully open and everything like that. However, myself being a skeptic, as I always repeat on this channel, is that I don't believe myself. I'm sorry, I just don't. I can't scientifically make sense of it in my own mind. So what I can't make sense of, I'm sorry, I just can't believe myself. However, Mum went and saw a psychic who told her that apparently, you know this story better than I do. What is this?
So that brings us to many more houses as well.
Holy moly.
Apparently, so Mum went to a clairvoyant and they had told her that there was an elder gentleman in the house. And there were younger spirits who had followed us from house to house, and they would run around the house, which were the big whooshes that we would feel every now and then randomly. And the old gentleman didn't like it. It was disturbing him, and he would just
So hold up.
be like, hooligans!
So Mum had younger spirits that followed her to Saxby Court.
From
But the oldest,
our old house.
from old houses.
Yes.
But Saxby Court actually had the old man there first. The old man didn't come with Mum. The kids came with Mum. The old man was at Saxby Court.
And he didn't appreciate them running around his house. And he would
Freaking
be
hooligans.
like, hooligans! Hooligans!
That is terrifying. That is absolutely creepy. That is a good leader into our next little creepy story. We've had many childhood homes. We've moved around quite a bit. So we've experienced quite a number of different homes. Some that felt really good and others that you just can't explain. They just felt really off. So before Saxby Court days, we lived in another house in Traralgon as well. And it had some really weird, strange things happen all the time. Like, my sisters hated staying in their bedroom because what used to happen? What was it that you were so afraid of?
So we had a bunk bed. And Caddy used to hear it first. And I didn't, because I used to scratch under my pillow to go to sleep. And it would block out all the sound. It fucking pissed Caddy off so much. So I couldn't hear anything, but Caddy could always hear it, and she'd be like, what's clicking? It's annoying me. And I'd be like, and you know what Caddy's like, has to be dead silent. And I'm like, nothing's clicking. and we'd hear people running, like little people running. We were the little people in the house. We were the littlest.
There was
time.
no one smaller than them in the house.
And we heard this along the walls all the time. But the second we got out of our room, it all stopped. And it never happened in Mum's room. Although I did astro travel a lot in Mum's room. Every night, actually.
That's funny because Mum said the same as well.
And I was too little to even know what that was.
Yeah, so Mum used to have this weird thing happen to her. It was like a sleep paralysis thing, but the psychic explained it to her as astro traveling, which is like a really interesting concept. Like, I mean, if that's really evident and that's actually a thing, yeah, like used to fully astro travel only in this one room. I actually had our mum's bedroom before she moved into that room, and I had a lot of issues in there. But when I moved out of that room, I suddenly was so much happier and had no more issues. Like, I was trying to do year 12, it was hard, but then when I moved rooms, I was like, perfect.
See, I never heard any of the things we heard at night, like the kettle going on and off, even though we unplugged it because Mum was a psycho and thought the house would burn down. I didn't hear any of that in Mum's room. None of it.
There you go, that's crazy. I used to hear the kettle, so that's what used to happen of a night time. The oven would turn on, or the actual kettle would click on. But Mum was really afraid of house fires and the fact that the kettle was clicking on by itself. So she used to make us unplug and turn everything off, like PowerPoint off, and just unplug absolutely everything, because it was just like, well, you know, it's going to cause a fire if it keeps happening. Until, of course, she went to the psychic field and she's like, oh, it's the ghosts doing it. But I remember I'd be up late trying to study and trying to like cram everything in year 12. I took on way too much in year 12. I wish someone had told me back then, oh, fashion's probably not the way to go. Money-wise, like, do some chem and bio. Whatever. So I reckon I was working on, like, one of my folios, and I probably would have got back from uni late, because I was also doing vet, uni, year 12, like, preparing for my interviews, working, 2 jobs. It was just mental, like, too much. So I reckon I would have been up late one night, and it was the first time that I'd ever heard it, and the kettle went on, and a lot of the time I was making Milos, and then I was like, oh, stop having Milos, you've got to try and be healthy, because Mum said the Milos were bad, and I'd make the Milo on the stove top, because the kettle would be too loud for her, because if she heard the kettle, she'd be like, why are you making a Milo, that's fat, and I'd be like, well, I don't want her to hear me, so I used to use a gas stove top, no word of a lie in the saucepan.
That's fat.
That's fat. Demi, you don't need that Milo. Body issue problems, I wonder why. The kettle would just flick on all the bloody time, and it was just sort of like, what is going on? And I thought maybe once I'd left it on and accidentally like clicked it back on, or I thought that we had a cat at the time, and just the one. His name was Harvey, and I thought that he was clicking it. Like, I don't know, he was a weird cat. Like, he was cool, but he was weird. He did weird things, and I thought maybe he was playing with it, like, because the light flickered on and off, like a cat ball sort of thing. But it turned out that the cat wasn't doing it. No one was clicking the kettle on and off. It was just doing it on its own.
It would just click.
No, never boiled.
It was unplugged.
Never boiled, just clicked. Yep, constantly. So that was our other house in Traralgon. That was quite creepy.
You know what? Those spirits probably followed you and Jacinta home from the bloody cemetery that you would always go to.
Oh, that's right. Shout out to Friend. My best friend's just about to have a baby, so she's not going to feature with us. She's probably asleep, or hopefully in labour. But we used to ride our bikes out to the Traralgon Cemetery, which was a bit of a way from like home, but it's pretty close to town, so it was easy enough to get to. But I don't know why, we used to go on these like adventures when we were younger, just to go to the cemetery and look and read all the old graves and everything like that, which was pretty cool back then. We'd just go everywhere and anywhere on our bikes, but who knows? People say that spirits follow people places. I mean,
the Walhalla Cemetery as well.
Well, yeah, that's a place that's on the list, guys, to go and have a look at, Walhalla Cemetery. We've obviously been there so many times because we lived in the area, so we know and love it, but that's a really creepy cemetery. There's actually a cursed grave there where...
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
You can't lean over it, otherwise people have like come back on their way home and died in car accidents.
or had like heart attacks and stuff like that. Walhalla's a really, really isolated town. There's one road in and one road out, and the road is so windy. You can go a maximum of maybe 40 k's if you're lucky. Steep on each side. There's no barriers. It is next level terrifying road. Like, it is like, I would say it's Victoria's equivalent to Death Road in Bolivia, like Younger's Road.
I remember going up there for a school trip in the bus, and like, you know, when you turn on the bus, you can see, I was crying.
I didn't even know how the bus made it around those turns. They were hook turns. Like,
I
the
thought
bus was
die.
giving a turn.
I know.
Oh my god. And sometimes when the cars are coming the opposite way, you've got to like,
well, you can't
really
do anything.
do anything. You've got to kind of move, but like it's not wide enough for two cars, really. I mean, it's been improved a lot, but it's still terrifying.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, so the whole part about it is like Death Road, isolated like town in this valley in the middle of the mountains, bush creeps everywhere, deathly tales of smallpox and mining accidents up there. That's
and
mainly
it's fire
the people.
Recently, that's probably
plenty of bushfires, unsettling the restless spirits and everything like that, not liking their town being burned down. But yeah, the actual cemetery itself is on like a really, really steep hill, and the myth is that apparently they had to bury people standing upright. I don't even understand the logistics of that, but that's apparently not true. But yeah,
I've never actually seen it. I've never actually been there, like to the cemetery part.
You've only been camping?
Yeah.
Okay. We need to definitely do a piece at the cemetery.
They were like, no, it's too dangerous. And I can understand why, because it's literally like this.
It is a pretty, like, when they say dangerous, not like, and this is not to take the fun out of this, because it is super creepy and there are really scary stories from there, but dangerous as in, like, OH-esque major risks. There's, like, big bits of, like, slate and, like, rock and everything just everywhere in the hill, and there's no barriers. There's just, like, little tiny paths that you walk on.
It's quite scary.
Some of the paths are actually walking over the top of graves, like full broken plaques and stuff. It's, yeah. And it's really, really high up. It's really high up to get to. It's right on the side of the mountain. So, I mean, beautiful spot though. I actually did my Year 12 studio art photography piece. Yeah, a bit about Walhalla. We'll take a trip out there. Guys back home, if anyone wants to come out to Walhalla, we might think about maybe doing one of the ghost tours. We've done a ghost tour previously. I mean, the ghost tour was more just a really awesome history tour and a cool walk around at night time. Probably best to, I reckon, do it in autumn because it'd be nice. You get to go see the leaves during the day. Beautiful autumn leaves. Check those out on Instagram if you just hashtag Walhalla. And yeah, have a look at the autumn leaves and everything. But you can do a ghost tour up there. I believe that they're still running.
Every night, I'm pretty sure.
They're really, really cool. It's more a history sort of tour. I mean, we did have one scary instance happen.
We took lots of photos and there were like orbs in all of my photos.
Yeah, see, I don't understand the concept of orbs. I always look at it and go, oh, it's lens flare. Energy.
Floating energy.
There was actually one scary instance from that ghost tour though, and it actually involves you, Shan. Mum reminded me the other day. So we went down to the gold mine. So Walhalla is a very isolated old mining town from back in the gold rush days. So the mines are still actually visible. However, they are closed off just for safety reasons. You can only go in certain parts of them because they're subject to collapse and all that sort of stuff. So we were at one of the mines and there was like some bars at the front of the actual mine.
I think I remember that.
And remember there was that creepy face standing near your head. I was filming.
You took a photo?
And I took a photo and I was also filming and there was this creepy face right behind you. I don't know where the photo is.
I think I remember that. And Mum pointed it out.
Yeah. And we're like, oh no, but it was actually something weird. So what I really want to know is, does anybody have some creepy road trip stories or any sort of creepy traveling stories? It can be paranormal, it can be just strange and mysterious, or it can be like completely real life terrifying. I know that we did a big road trip to go and drop my best friend's car off to her in the Gold Coast from basically Melbourne in Victoria. So It's...
It was from Traralgon, wasn't it?
Yeah, but, like, people don't know where that is.
That's an extra 3 hours onto the trip.
So... Okay.
It does.
So we drove from the south of Australia, so along the east coast, up basically to the Gold Coast, which is south of Queensland. It's about 1,600 kilometres or so. So a fair way. We drove just the two of us and my eldest son, Mason, who was only 4 at the time. It was probably a dumb thing to do, but we just thought, this is amazing, this is such a cool...
It'll be so fun.
It'll just be so, like, I don't know, empowering, and just give us some independence, and I don't know, it was a really fun sort of idea. We thought it would be great for Mace, because the end goal essentially was we got to go and see our family in Queensland and my best friend. So we thought, this would be awesome. We're flying home, it's no big deal. It'll be really, really cool. Little trolls trying to get in. So guys, I want to hear from you if you've got any creepy road trip stories or any scary travel stories, whether it be paranormal, mysterious, any near misses, or even just any creeps that you've come across. We all love creepy stranger stories. They really make for horrifying road trip stories. And boy oh boy have we got one to share with you. I mean, we wanted to stay overnight somewhere because it was just too far to go. We decided after a really long day of driving that we would stop in Port Macquarie on the Central Coast. So we only had about 6 hours, I think, left to go, maybe a little bit more or so.
But we hadn't slept.
We'd been driving since 5 o'clock that morning. We were exhausted. We just needed a break. So we're like, okay, we'll pull into whatever motel we can, stop over, get some dinner, sleep for the night, and that'll be it. And we'll be happy. We'll make our way in the morning, because I was next level exhausted. I could not drive anymore. We got to the motel. Everything was fine. We decided to go and get some dinner. And then we came back to the room, and I reckon you should tell this one, Shan, because you're the one that noticed it. I really need you to explain your personality back then, though, how you...
And your personality.
Yeah. Okay, so I was a scaredy cat and scared of absolutely everything, and
super hypervigilant.
Yeah, like paranoid as, like always like, what was that? What was that? What was that? Like just terrified of everything, because I've just immersed myself into this dark, dark world all the time. I just get so paranoid. But Shantelle, on the other hand, was the absolute polar opposite to that. Just did not believe in anything.
It won't happen to me.
Was never frightened of anything, really living a risque lifestyle, just not like
super street smart,
just not concerned at all. So the time that she actually was frightened, I didn't believe her. I thought she was being silly, and I didn't understand the ulterior motive for her being so stupid. But it turns out it was actually genuine. She was frightened,
genuinely terrified.
And this is because when we were at the motel, there was this creepy guy.
Yeah, well, when we first drove in, I noticed him, and I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. And there was no, like, admin or, like, the owners. They weren't there. There was no check-in. So it was a bit weird. And on the doors, it said, make sure you lock your doors. So that was also another creepy sign. And I noticed him, but I didn't say anything. Then we went and got dinner. And we came back, and he was out the front, like on the main road. And as we came in, he started following us, and I saw him through the rear view mirror. And I was like, Dem, that guy's being a bit creepy. And Demi's like, oh, she's so tired, by the way. She's just sick of my shit. She's like, oh, shut up. We're going to bed.
There was nothing that was frightening me at this point. I was so done. I couldn't care less.
She's like, I don't want to deal with your shit, Shantelle. We're going to sleep. And I'm like, nah. And he's like eyeing off Mason, who's not even 4 at the time, which was a bit weird. So anyway, we went into our room. Demi was like, you're a fuckhead. And I was like internally crying. So I looked out the window as Demi's trying to get ready for bed and have a shower, getting all cozy and comfortable. I look out the window, and here's this man looking through the window of our cars and playing with the bolts on the wheels, as if to stop us from going somewhere. So we had a shower, we packed our shit, and we ran within the one window space we had that he had disappeared.
because there were two ladies next to us that had come home from their night out of drinking or whatever. We're having a wine outside and we're like, right, we're going to utilise this opportunity to go. Because I didn't believe her until I actually looked out the window and saw, what the fuck's he doing with the tyres? Why is he playing with the wheel bolts and the nuts? What the fuck's he doing there? Turns out he was loosening them. And the way I found out that is because once we left the motel, we piled our stuff in the car, got Mason in, got the hell out of there, and once I knew no one was following us, I turned around the corner, pulled off to the side of the road, and the fucking things were loose. He was fully loosening it to loosen the tyre so that we couldn't go anywhere.
It was terrifying.
He wasn't changing a flat tyre like a good Samaritan.
And he watched us leave as well, and then there was a car following us for ages, and the police had told us that they can't do anything because nothing has happened yet, and to just keep driving for 6 hours.
So what we did was we pretty much rang my best friend and our family and just said, look, we can't stay here. This horrible thing's happened. They were great. And we're like, well, we're obviously coming to meet you.
Halfway.
We'll come and try and meet you halfway. Must have been more than 6 hours because they drove from Gold Coast to Ballina.
Yeah.
And we drove from Port Macquarie to Coffs Harbour and I had to stop and we had to sleep in a car park because I was going to crash.
Speak for yourself, I didn't sleep.
I had to sleep.
It was at a KFC car park and there were not many people around, and those that were a bit suspicious looking. And I was just in the car trying to sleep. I remember I put the car seat back and I was like this the whole time. And Demi was snoring and she'd wake up every now and then and go, you slept yet? I'd be like, fucking no. How are you sleeping?
It was such a terrifying trip. And then finally we got to Ballina. I got to swap over cars and I slept the whole way to the Gold Coast, and we actually just slept as we got there. The sun was rising and everything was just perfect again. But creepy near miss, right? Like, we were terrified that whole drive, and there were a lot of roadworks and everything that, like, either he had followed us or he had someone else follow us, or they were part of the roadworks as well. We just all of a sudden got really paranoid. They followed us
for hours.
This one car followed us for hours and hours. I mean, they probably could have been doing the same drive as us. It's a pretty common drive.
I mean, they stayed the same distance away from us at all times. And they didn't happen to appear until after we'd left the hotel. And they
did, though, leave when we got to Coffs Harbour. Thank God.
Yes.
So that's why I knew I could go to sleep.
Could have been what's that movie called? Australian serial killer movie? Backpackers?
Oh my God, Ivan Milat, one of the Milat brothers. Could have been
a Wolf's Creek situation, honestly.
Or Wolf's Creek, who knows? I don't know. There's a lot of Milat boys going around.
And the worst thing is no one would have known. Because there was no one on the road.
There was no one on the road at all. It was terrifying. But you know what? We actually found safety in the fact that there was no one around, because any car we thought was him. So there was no car.
We just kept driving.
There was no car. We're like, well,
it was terrifying.
It was awful. So awful. But that was our creepy road trip story to the Gold Coast. Port Macquarie is usually a really, really nice place. So, I mean,
wouldn't recommend staying there. I do remember our friend at the time had called them and harassed them because of the situation. They didn't get back to them. They didn't answer the phone. Complaint wasn't dealt with. Nothing.
Because we didn't have anywhere to leave the key when we left the room either. We had to just sort of dump it and be like, fuck this, we out, see ya. Like, we're not staying here.
I reckon he was a regular.
That's another thing as well. I forgot to mention that. That is, real suspicious, right? We feel like maybe the actual owners of the motel were in on it.
100%.
Because what made us think that? I'm trying to remember this, but
because we had called them and they basically told us to fuck off. Because they weren't there, so they had like an out of office number that we called. We told them the situation and they were just like,
I know.
It is what it is.
Totally. So guys, it's been super cool being able to have my sister on as a co-host tonight and have a bit of a chat about some family spooks from back in the day. I mean, there's been a lot of instances where just some weird creepy shit's happened, and generally we're usually the ones together when the creepy shit's happening. So that was really cool for a bit of a reminisce and a little bit of homegrown horror insight from our childhoods. So thank you so much for listening. Let's delve into the paranormal of our homegrown horrors. I'd like to talk to you about an instance of when we stayed at my best friend's house. Shout out to you, Malona. She had a house in Croydon for a while that she shared with a housemate. Her housemate was away camping, and myself, another one of our friends, Malona, and two of our children were staying with us at the house. We were just having, some drinks, some snacks, having a sleepover, just catching up and spending some time together. It was a really, really awesome night. We'd had good chats, good vibes, and we'd just been watching that Age of Adeline. It's not a scary movie or anything like that by any means. So it's not like we were frightened or hypervigilant or scared or anything by any sense of the word. So it was just a normal night. At the time I smoked, and so did our other friends. So we're out the front having a cigarette. We'd actually just put the kids to bed, and they were sound asleep in a bedroom and hadn't moved at all. So we're like, we'll go out and have a cigarette and continue drinking and talking and having a good old time. Then we heard the bathroom door slam shut. I mean, it slammed with such force that I can't even believe that it was possible. Does anybody know those hooks that you put over the back of the bathroom doors where it's sort of like metal? Like it's in the way of the actual door frame and the door closing itself. Anyway, Malona's bathroom had one of those over the top. So you actually couldn't physically shut the bathroom door yourself if you were pulling it shut. So for it to slam on its own with such force and the door was shut, I don't understand how that was even possible. We went and checked on the children first. Yes, we did go and check on the kids. Was none of them. None of them had super strength. None of them were the Hulk. They were sound asleep still. They hadn't moved at all. There was nobody else in the house. There was no windows open to cause any breeze. And even if there was, the night was as still as anything. It was a balmy autumn night. There was no movement whatsoever. We went back outside after checking that the children were all right. Couldn't explain, obviously, why the bathroom door had slammed closed, but we just were willing to accept it as just, bathroom door slammed closed, cool. Move forward, move on with our lives. Then the bathroom door opened, and then it slammed closed again. This time, we weren't so willing to accept that it opened and closed. So this time we went back inside to actually check and see the bathroom door. It was closed. As we were standing there watching the bathroom door, the door opened right before our eyes. There is still no one in the house, there is still no windows open, and there is still no breeze. I can't even explain to you how on earth that happened. And then as quick as that, it slammed shut again, right before our very eyes, with such force that we tried to recreate the slam and we couldn't do it. Each of us had a turn. None of us was strong enough to actually close that door. So we noped out of that and we wanted to get the kids and just leave, but obviously we couldn't because they were asleep. So we just had to face our fears and try and get some sleep that night and hope for the best in the morning. The night went really quick. There was nothing else that sort of happened throughout the night, and that was pretty much that. Still scary nonetheless. That house in Croydon, Malona, no way. Just want to do a quick shout out to you guys who have volunteered to come on a location exploration. As I've got you at the top of my list, I know you're really keen to come and do some filming with me. So as soon as I'm back down home, let's tee something up. I'm thinking maybe we could do Walhalla, do a bit of Button Man exploration, stuff like that. I reckon that's probably best for us. I've also got my brother, Brent. Shout out Brent. Brent actually sent us a video earlier in the week of the random gravestone that was found back home behind Amigos. So that's going to be super cool to have a look at. He was doing a bit of work there with his arbory company, and they actually located the grave by mistake. So completely randomly after we actually got that wonderful suggestion from Westy. Shout out to you, Westy. Thank you so much for that suggestion. That one's going to be pretty creepy and cool to delve into. Also, I've got Chris, one of my old work colleagues. Oh, wonderful Chris, I can't wait to have you come on. I think we might do the Lantern Ghost tour. I'm taking my sister on that one for her birthday, so perhaps you can come along for the Lantern Ghost tour. Alternatively, we've got plenty of other creeps that we can do around the city that I can get you in on. I've also got some people back down home that might be keen for some interviewing and stuff like that. If I haven't mentioned your name in here, definitely just give me a message and we'll tee that up. I've also got some interviews and collabs that I'd like to be able to do with my good friend Jono, who does his Desperately Seeking podcast. Please check out their Instagram and their podcast on Spotify or your favourite podcast streaming service. Everything you need to know about dating and not dating. Shout out to Jono and Kate for that one.